What's up, guys? It's your girl, Tania.
And Lauren. And this is the Ready to Change podcast.
Okay, as y'all know, we're being goofy because this is like our third take, guys. But as y'all know, every single episode, we're going to be started off with the icebreaker game. And so this game, we're going to figure out how much we truly know each other. Because we can talk about sister. Never knew how. Okay.
Breaking up the family tree.
Okay, let's get the game started, guys.
Don't hit me hard with that.
Alright, I'm not ready. Where's your pillow at?
And when I say like hit, it needs to be like
okay. I want to play. Alright, we're gonna have to edit that part out. Kiss my real hair. You feel me? Come on.
Okay.
Alright, my first question is, what is my favorite animal? 5.
Wait, no, you have a clarifying question. Is this a reptile or is it like a physical
animal? What is my favorite animal?
A dog.
No, it was a monkey. So
a monkey?
Yeah, I love monkeys because they remind me of like humans. And so when I'll tell another story. But yes, it's a monkey. So you have 0 point. We're going to 5. So
we're going to 5. Like, are we asking 5 questions?
Yeah.
Because
so you're 0 out of 1 right now.
What's my favorite color?
5.
4.
Your favorite color is
3.
Gray. What is it?
I don't have a favorite color. That's a real thing. Like, you have to know that.
All right, so I'm 0 for 1 right now. Okay, this should be easy. What is my favorite number?
5. Call me Big Mama. Because I like a mama.
Mm-hmm. Don't be doing nothing stupid. I can do it easy.
Because it was your jersey number?
Yes.
How old?
Okay.
What year was I born?
1992.
How'd you know that? 90. Hold on.
92. Yeah. 97, 92.
Okay, last question.
Last question. I'm gonna give you a hard one. You better get this right. How old was I when I was first got my first tattoo? I just told you the answer.
16.
Okay, good job.
If I didn't play basketball, which sport would I play?
That's a good one.
Comment Big Mama for these questions. Mama.
If you didn't play basketball, what sport? Oh, gosh.
I don't really feel like it's that hard.
You wouldn't play a sport.
I actually wanted to try volleyball.
But really?
I
did play volleyball.
Dad only let me play 1 game. And he was laughing. Did he tell you what happened?
I was there at the game. Where
I caught the ball. Mm-hmm. And then he was laughing his ass off. I was like, that is really not that funny. He was like, you jumped up and down like you were getting a rebound. I was like, well, it's a reflex.
Yeah.
But and I like their little shorts.
I know that's right. You would be a cute little volleyball player.
I would. Mm-hmm. I think people usually say like, well, they say basketball first. Then they are like volleyball too.
Nah, for sure. They say volleyball for me first. You should play volleyball?
No, they say basketball. But I think I have a little bit more of a masculine kind of look to me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, not for sure. Because you don't really look masculine. But you just got a
strong build.
Big old booty.
Basketball players have big butts. It looked like Angela Reese's been doing her squats.
It really do, though.
And she be trying to roll her shorts up, and she be trying to stick it out.
Yeah, and if you look back to her college days, she was not thick. So I was like, okay,
as you should. She's trying to be thick.
Period. I'm trying to get on that. All right.
Wait, where's my
guys? So there goes a little icebreaker. Where is your phone?
I don't know, but
okay, guys. So we are going to be talking about
friendship.
Yes. I've been waiting. I really been
Why
waiting.
have you been waiting? Like, what's so cool about friendship?
What's so cool about it? I mean, I just feel like this episode in general, I feel like not even for myself, but it's gonna help a lot of people that can relate to friendship wounds, because people think about like trauma and stuff when it comes down to relationships, but we don't ever talk about friendship trauma either, though.
Why do you think that people put more of an emphasis on like romantic relationships as opposed to like platonic relationships?
In my opinion, and I'm speaking for myself as well, is because I feel like we put more energy and effort, emotions into like a platonic relationship versus like a friend. We don't have to really speak to them every day, or we're not really like I don't want to say emotionally invested, but I feel like there's like a expectation, like, okay,
all right, all of my closest friends I was emotionally invested in.
Ooh.
I talk to them at my worst every single day. Like 4 or 5 people every single day, all day.
So you view it as like a relationship.
Yeah.
That's how you see. That's we're like the polar opposite.
Yeah, because and that's the same thing with Janae too. She doesn't really talk to her friends every single day. Whereas me, there were times where I was at my most, I wouldn't call it codependent, but like at my most active friendship season, I would talk to my friends more than I actually worked. Like, and I worked from home too, so I could just talk all day long, and that's exactly what I would do.
And while me, and I think, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Right. I haven't always been that way. I used to always just be like the type of person where it's like friends. Like, I was a social person even when I was little, but friendship wounds changed me who I am. So now I don't put friendship on a pedestal. It's like either we're gonna be cool or we're not gonna be cool. But I'm not gonna. It's too much energy.
You also are a parent and you have like family. You don't really have the time
or the capacity, and the people who understands. But then it makes me see, this is how I lost friends as well too, because this is what I just said. Either they get it or they don't. You're not being empathetic on how they feel, and that's what I'm trying to work on.
Yeah.
So
your ass. Your guys don't be giving a damn sometimes.
I really don't, and it's so hard for me too, because either I care too much or I don't care at all. I don't know how to put it in
that middle. Okay. Well, first question. When was your last friendship breakup? And what emotions were you feeling, and how did you cope with them?
My last friendship breakup, I want to say probably like a month ago. A month ago. And honestly, I didn't necessarily care. I was more confused.
So when did your empathy, because last episode we said that you have a lot of like empathy.
Yeah.
But does that not translate over to friends?
It does, but only if it's communicative to me. Like, you have to tell me what's going on, what's wrong, and so I can sympathize and actually feel what you're feeling. But if you're just being petty or you just don't want to have that conversation, if you don't care, then I'm not going to care. Because like, I have to understand why. Because if I don't understand why, I'm not like a magician. I can read your mind.
Yeah.
So if you act in a way or you feel some type of way and you don't come to me and we sit down and have that conversation, like, I'm open to having that conversation. I'm open to understand, to feel how you feel, to want to like care. But if you just don't care and you just moving how you moving, I'm just like, I don't have the energy or the capacity to. I'm gonna try it one time. Like, hey, what's going on? Like, X, Y, and Z. And if you just ignore me or you just don't respond, I'm gonna accept it for what it is and I'm gonna move on. What about you? What's your last friendship or breakup?
My last friendship breakup was in January. I communicated something that I felt was very vulnerable. And with this particular person, I don't know if I communicated it in the most effective way. Because, like, I'm the type of person where if I feel safe, I'll open up and I'll share with you how I actually feel. But as I sit back and reflect on like the dynamic of the relationship, when I would open up and say like, hey, this hurt my feelings. This made me sad. This triggered me. The response was usually, you're too sensitive. You're, oh, well, I'm gonna, like, oh, I cannot deal with you. And so I had realized like there was something that was really on my heart that I wanted to talk to her about. And I was scared to bring it up because over the years,
you was afraid of the response.
I was afraid of the response. I was afraid of the reaction to my vulnerabilities. I didn't want to be called sensitive. And so I just kept it boxed inside. And that's unhealthy. I think that that was unhealthy on her part. And I think that that was also unhealthy on my part. And it created this environment where I felt punished to talk about emotions or talk about what I was actually really feeling. And then when I said how I felt, it wasn't communicated in the most healthy or productive way because I had that captured in me for so long, for 2 or 3 years. And from that moment on, we didn't talk. And that was in January of this year. And I feel like the emotions that I felt was sad. I felt, because we was talking about the difference between like, you probably wouldn't give a damn because you're not emotionally invested in like relationships. Me, I do care because I have a small community. I don't have children. I live by myself. So the friends that I bring into my world, that it matters a lot to me. And so with that particular person, I felt very sad. I felt thrown away. And I also felt like it wasn't the safest space for me to communicate how I truly feel because I always felt like if I opened up and I shared my vulnerabilities, I was going to be punished. I was going to be called sensitive. I was going to be labeled all of these different things. And yeah, and the emotions that I felt was sadness. I felt I couldn't really be my authentic self. I felt ashamed at like ashamed with the connection that I have to my emotions. And it made me kind of like want to hide or suppress that side of myself and be embarrassed that that side of myself even exists in the first place. So,
you know, it's crazy. I was sitting there just thinking about what you were saying. And I just want to clear this up just for the camera and for the people. I care, but I feel like I care to a certain capacity. Like at one moment in time, I used to care like a lot. But once I realized that I was giving way more energy than I was receiving, and that relationship had that much control over me where I'm feeling these negative emotions, I learned how to care to a certain capacity. So for the friends that I have lost, I cared in that moment, in that season. However, I didn't let that friendship shut me off or shut me away from wanting like to open doors for more friendships. Cause at one moment in time when like I used to get hurt from friendships and stuff like that, I would be afraid to start making friends, or I would take that scenario and bring that baggage with me.
yeah.
Where now it's like, I'm judging you, I'm judging you, I'm judging you. I don't even want to get to know you. And so I guess I learned how to not care as much because I learned that everybody how they treat people is only a projection how they truly feel about themselves. So I learned how to give them grace. I learned how to like not take things personal anymore. So it's like if they come around, and everybody knows I don't hold grudges. I don't hold over their head. I always have like an open door policy, but now I learn how to have discernment, understand like I saw what happened. Now I'm going to show up how I want to show up. You can either accept it or don't accept it. I'm okay regardless.
So how do you, because like to me, what it seems like you're describing is I compartmentalize things. Like I know how to like process the information and put it in its separate buckets and protect my heart in the process. Yeah. How do you do that?
I mean, honestly, it took years. Like we always talk about how our situation, my situation with friendship wounds started at an early age.
Yeah.
Yours just kind of recently happened over the years.
Mine started at an early age too.
That's true. That's true. But like how, I guess as an adult though, yours.
I feel like I go through cycles. Yeah. I feel like I'm repeating the same friendship cycles over and over. Yeah. Like, the season that I'm in now felt very similar to the season that I went through 5 years ago, or the season that I was going through when I was in high school or middle school, or like I'm in cycles.
Yeah. And so how I learned how to put like in categories and have that discernment is honestly seeing people for who they are the first time. That's just what it is. And I think a lot of us, pretty sure people who are watching, we try to give people the benefit of the doubt a lot. Try to always see like, okay, well, ignore the red flags. Like, no, that's just who they are. And I get to choose to either accept that in that moment. Not saying they're not able to grow, but that's how I do it. Like, if I feel like this person showed up this way, I'm not judging them based off the first time, but like now I have that in my head. Like, okay, I need to watch out for X, Y, and Z, and just testing out my theories. And if my theory is right, I get to choose to accept them for who they are, or I get to accept them to, like, this ain't working out.
I feel like that is a big part of like the friendship experiences that I've experienced where like I struggle with acceptance, and not only in friendship, in relationships in general. Like I struggle to accept Janae. Yeah. I struggle to accept myself. I struggle to accept Daddy. Yeah. Sometimes I struggle to accept you. Not really, but like accepting people's strengths and people's opportunities, especially when their weaknesses or their opportunities hurt me. Yeah. And when you're not, sometimes when people's weaknesses show up and they're not self-aware. So you could give the feedback and you could have a constructive conversation. But if you're not self-aware and you're not open to receiving how others receive you in the pattern, like your weaknesses or your flaws continue to show up over and over and over. There's not a safe space for me to actually say how your flaws hurt me. You're not open to receiving constructive feedback about you, and I keep getting wounded in that process. Like that's where I'm like, I don't know how to accept that. Yeah. And that's where I struggle.
And it's hard. I mean, I've struggled as well. Like even,
but I feel like you do that good
with friends, but relationships, that's where I struggle with. With friends, like I said, I don't really necessarily have a strong emotional connection with friends. So it's easy for me to like, okay, well, I accept it for what it is. But relationship wise, I guess it's hard for me to accept the fact like you're not willing to grow. Like how do you say you love someone so much and you are just content even though you're hurting that person? And I know hurt people, like they're going through a lot of things that could be depression, you know what I'm saying? Maybe they're not even oblivious and knowing that they are treating people this way. Yeah. So, and I think that what helps me is that when I think about my own struggles and that I'm dealing with, and people may come to me and be like, Tia, you're a control freak. And for a long time, I wasn't oblivious on how I was controlling things. I may think like, oh, I'm just trying to help or I'm just trying to, but in reality, that's how I'm showing up to them. Yeah. So me receiving that feedback, I'm like, okay.
And that hurts too. Like, I think people don't talk enough about like, first of all, people don't have honest conversations about like, hey, there was an infraction here. There's a violation here. There's something that really hurt my feelings. And people don't have those honest conversations. And that it's so vulnerable sharing like, hey, there were a number of infractions because one, a lot of people like.
What do you mean by infractions?
Infractions, violations.
Like, what do you mean by infractions?
Hurts. Yeah. Like there were moments in which I felt hurt by something that you said. A lot of times we take that on the chin and we do not communicate.
That ego.
And it's ego, it's lack of safety, it's vulnerability, it's rejection, it's all of those things. So like, we're not even, sometimes friendships or relationships don't even feel like a safe space to exist in, because if there are things that have hurt me or the other person along the way, is there a net of safety for me to be able to even communicate that?
They're not even aware. And that's, so I guess that leads me to my next question. So for people who are going through like friendship wounds, who are too afraid, maybe they don't have that safe place to have that conversation, what are some ways that may do it where you don't have to talk in person? Maybe if like write a letter, like what are some solutions that if they don't feel safe, but they still need to have that conversation?
If you don't feel safe, I think it's time to like pause and evaluate if y'all are truly in alignment. Because if one person feels like, hey, I want to have these vulnerable conversations, the other person doesn't, like, that seems like a mixed match in like values and fundamental values. Like, hey, I would prefer to, I handle conflict by sweeping things under the rug. I don't really want to address the core root of our issues. I don't really want to have difficult conversations. And you do. Like, those are some fundamental differences that are going to show up. So I would question, like, do you even need to be in this connection in the first place? I think that I've written plenty of letters. I think it just depends on like what you're hoping to get out of the letters, because like, anytime I wrote letters to people when I felt like it was unsafe for me to have the full conversation that I'm hoping to have. Like, maybe that person was defensive, or maybe I didn't feel like I would be able to truly feel heard. There's a lot of times where I'm like, I want to express myself, but I don't know if I'm going to feel heard, feel seen, feel understood in a conversational structure. So like, let me write this out. But what I've learned is that doesn't matter the communication style or method. If you are in relationship with someone that doesn't really want to hear about themselves, they don't really want to hear about their negatives, their weaknesses, how you receive them. If that stuff stings, because it stings everybody, but if it stings to the point where there's complete rejection, there's complete dismissiveness, there's complete defensiveness, there's no self-reflection, then you have to decide, do I want to fold and like keep those emotions to myself, or do I actually want to communicate but run the risk of being rejected, being dismissed, being projected, like they're projecting their issues onto you, whatever. Like, you're gonna have to run that risk and figure out like what's the most important.
Yeah. And I think for me as well, like I said, my last friendship breakup, she didn't say anything at all to me. And so and like in my head, I'm like, well, I don't understand why she would not feel comfortable talking to me. Like, why would she? And that's when I have to self-reflect, like, dang, like, am I doing something wrong?
I create a safe enough space?
But even in that moment when I was reflecting, I'm like, okay, well, maybe if she doesn't feel comfortable coming to me, let me reach out. And I know sometimes, I don't know, I mean, I just feel like a lot of people, like, and speaking of myself as well, but a lot of people avoid having hard conversations. Like, I even did that recently with my guy friend, where I could have like, and it's crazy because I feel like as I grow, the more I'm not, like, the more I think about stuff before I do. Cause the old to me would have been like, start going off on people. But now it's like I choose my words wisely. I choose if I want to even give people that energy. Like, if I think about the outcomes. Even if I was to tell somebody about themselves, like, is it going to change the outcome? Is it going to make me feel better about the outcome? Like, thinking about those type of things, some people are not even worth the energy and the time. And that's when you kind of like reflect, like you said, like, maybe we're just not aligned. Like, and I think that's another easier way for me to accept it for what it is and move on.
Yeah. And I think that helps because for you, you're not emotionally tied into it. So it's like, I can accept it for what it is and move on. But like, people, like, for me, friendships, it has always been very hard for me to accept, like, because I am an emotional person, because my heart connects to other people's heart. The way that I relate, I go deep. And so I'm not a shallow relator, but I'm learning to be a shallow relator, because like when you go deep with other people, expectations run deeper. Like there's this trickle down effect. So I'm learning to be a little bit more shallow in my connections. Maybe they don't need to know my whole life story, my whole traumas, my whole this, my whole that. Do I want to expose myself in that way? Because the more that you expose yourself to someone, the more
emotions, and that you really just hit it on a point, literally. And that was my thing. Like, because I like to go deep too, and so because I went through the things that I went through in life in general, molded me that way. Where it's like the discernment, like I know who to go deep with, and that's why in the last episode I said I have a select few, and those select few, that's when I hurt the most, because if I open up that door, here, the life of Tania. Yeah, here's my heart. If I give you my heart, and you know my weaknesses and everything, and you choose to hurt me, even though I've told you my story, even though you know who I am as an individual, then that's when I take it personal. Yeah, it gets deep. And I think that when we're talking about like difficult conversations, we're talking about vulnerability, we're talking about all that stuff, like you're really exposing yourself. You're saying this is who I am. You're putting yourself out there. And in the same way that like a man could hurt you if you're in a straight relationship, a woman if you're gay or whatever, like the same thing can happen with any type of relationship, whether it's your mom, it's your friend, it's your homie, it's your homeboy, whatever. Like when you're exposing and revealing and you are coming to people with your raw, authentic self, and you are saying, here's my vulnerabilities, and here's my fears, and here's what my ego looks like, and here's what my pride looks like, and here's what my weaknesses look like. You know what I was thinking about? What? You know how we always say like men, or like not even just men, but people who naturally have a wall up, who's like super nonchalant, they'll ask us like, why do y'all get so like attached? Like why y'all feelings get hurt when the X, Y, and Z happens? When I think about it, it's because they don't be vulnerable. Like even like a lot of men, they're so afraid to be vulnerable. So if their homeboy do X, Y, and Z, it doesn't affect them. Yeah, you have a wall. And that's what I have to do. I have to figure out like the wall piece, because I don't have like the walls that people have. I can't have a wall. Like I have a selective wall with 90% of people. I have a wall you can't seep through. You can't bulldoze your way through. Matter of fact, if you try to bulldoze your way through, the wall's gonna strengthen even harder. But like there's the other people where I actually go deep with, and my walls dissolve, and I give you who I am, the good, the bad, the ugly. So what's the next question? Okay, next question. Do you feel like you're in any patterns or cycles in friendship? If so, what are they, and why do you feel like you're in them? I don't think I'm in a cycle, because I only, like I say, like I only mess around with the same type of people. Well, I guess that is a cycle. Yeah. I still have the same friends, at least what I'm saying. Like I have new friends, but this is like a new start. Like I've never done this before. Like I've never been open to have new friends. So, but I can say not necessarily a cycle, but I feel like in the season that I was in, I was at my lowest, and I had friends on the same type of frequency. And I feel like as I've grown, our friendships kind of took different paths. Yeah. And so now, I mean, would that be a cycle, or would you just say like, I don't know. From me knowing you personally, the cycles that I've seen, and maybe want to touch on this, is like you attract wounded people. Yeah. And that has materialized in your romantic life. That hasn't materialized significantly in your friendship life as well, to the point where you tended to be other people's light. Yeah. And they would come to you, and because I don't know, you said that either you're extremely empathetic and you care a lot, or you don't give a damn. Yeah. But I think that there was a while, especially like the Weatherford days, the Commerce days, where you were giving to all these wounded people, and it seemed to be like very cyclical across all of your relationships. I mean, I feel like because I was wounded myself, and I think we touched based on this in the last episode, but because if I was feeling how I was feeling, me being able to show up for people who either had the same situation or a little bit worse made me feel better about my own situation.
Explain a little bit more.
So what I mean by that, so me hearing someone in their story, I did genuinely care, but also I'm like, okay, well, maybe if I can be the light in someone's life, it would make me feel better about what I'm going through. So what I mean by better means like I don't have like I get to concentrate on someone else's misery, and they say misery loves company. So I don't have to focus on how miserable I am. I can just focus on this person, and then I'll feel better about myself because my thought, like this makes me feel better about myself, my own misery, my own company. I didn't like being alone. So being around other people that can either relate to my story or maybe have a little worse story made me feel better about my own reality. And I didn't face my own reality. I used to just put stuff under the rug and just ignore it or get high and do drugs and just like I would use any scapegoat to ignore my own trauma. So
would you intentionally, do you think like your attraction for miserable people, do you think it was intentional? Like you were, or it just what happened subconsciously?
I think my closer friends, I don't think it was intentional. I think it was just like when I mean you are what you attract, I truly believe that we could relate on the same type of misery. That's it. That is all. Like the relate to like waking up depressed.
Yeah.
We could relate to that.
Yeah.
Us drinking every day. We could relate to that. So I don't think it was intentional. I just think that's where I was. Frequency. That's where I literally was in that season of life. Yeah. So it was a genuine connection is because we were relating on the same type of depression, misery type of things.
Did you feel like were y'all on the same playing field in y'all's friendship, or was one person the savior and one person
I was a savior?
Okay.
But I feel like I had the capacity to not only say, but I was watching another podcast where she said a lot of people who are in savior mode is because at a younger age, as a child, you always either wanted to be saved or you had a parent that you had to save. And so I think even like thinking about the past, childhood, I don't want to talk about it, but at a very, very young age, I had to teach myself a lot of things while my parents were going through what they were going through. Yeah. Where I feel like I had to be strong enough to be okay, but make sure that like I didn't have I don't know, I can't really go into it, but basically I was always a savior in anybody's life, and especially my friend's life, but I had the capacity, the mental strength to be strong.
And what behaviors did you exhibit that was like save your life? Like, what did you do?
I was just always pouring in people's cups. So me going out my way if they needed a ride somewhere, or if they needed money, or if they just need to come over and out, like even though I didn't want to be bothered, I just kind of allowed them to like take over my space because I know what they were going through. So having a lot of empathy but no boundaries. Those are some of the characteristics. And then, like I said, putting my wants and needs last and making sure they're happy before my own happiness.
And what did you gain from that? That was probably unhealthy, but how did that fuel you? Your ego, or your whatever was going on?
I mean, it kind of made me feel good. It made me feel like I was worthy of something, or someone saw my worth, like my worth or my value just by showing up. And they're like, oh, Tania, like them feeding me that energy saying like, you are my light. And that sounds kind of crazy, but it made me feel better about myself. And I guess for a long time, a lot of people misunderstood me and a lot of girls envious me, but little did they know, like I was literally going through some deep, dark stuff. So having people say like, thank you to me, that's all I wanted. That's all I ever wanted for me. Someone to help me, someone to be the light in my life. So it just made me like, all this is not going to vain. Like just because you know, people can't help me doesn't mean I can't help others.
So your savior complex was directly tied into your worth.
Yeah, my worth, my value, and then just in general the fact that I wanted to be saved. So if nobody's gonna save me,
then let me save somebody else.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Mm-hmm. What about you? Well, nah.
Cycles.
Yes. What was one of your cycles?
I think this goes back to childhood wounds, and I'm still trying to like journey through everything, but like one cycle that I am is I get my worth from, and I was talking to Janae about this like yesterday, but my worth either comes from my career or it comes from my relationships. And so when I have a healthy relational life, I feel really good about myself. But when I don't have a healthy relational life, I feel really bad about myself. And so one pattern that I'm in is that my worth comes from others. It comes from external to me. Yeah. I think another pattern that I'm in, we talked about acceptance. I don't really accept people. And that's something that I have to work on. I think that a pattern which makes us opposite was like I was the person that liked to be saved. So I think that I gravitated towards people. And I wanted to ask like about like the balance. Like when you're the savior and you have the person that's needing saving, is usually an imbalanced relationship, to the point where the people that was most closest to me, I felt like were constantly in savior mode of me. And like I looked to other people. Again, my worth came from others, but I looked to the people in my close circle to like save me or to affirm me or to guide me or to love me or to this pour. And I would get into these relationships with people that can fuel that of me, because I probably didn't get what I was looking for in the ways that I needed it from my parents. I was single most of my life. And so then I started looking for it in community. But I think my approach in that was very like, help me, lead me, guide me, save me, do for me. And I think that was like, it created an imbalance where one person is always saving and then you're always receiving. So I think that was one pattern that I have been in. Like, I remember a friend saying like, hey, like when you started going to therapy, I didn't know what my role was in your life anymore because I was going to you so much with my issues. And again, it goes to the exposing thing. Like when I connect deeply with other people, you're going to see it all. You're going to see my tears. You're going to see my traumas. You're going to see my fears. You're going to see my envy. You're going to see my shadow side. You're going to see my jealousy. You're going to see my anger. You're going to see my pain. You're going to see my resentment. And I'm very exposed in that way. But when you expose yourself so much without any boundaries, the other person, one, can have they have a lot of power over your life. But then two, if depending upon who you're with, they may take you on as a project or somebody that they want to fix. So with that particular friend, when she was like, she loved to fix. She loved listening to my problems. She loved it. So she was like, when you went to therapy, I didn't know what my role was in your life. And I'm like, if you're solely acting as my therapist, it's probably not a healthy relationship for either one of us. And so that like creating equal, balanced relationships where there's not me coming in as someone needing to be saved or the savior coming in as someone feeling affirmed in their worth because they are saving, like just forming those equal balanced relationships is a pattern that I am looking to break. Along with building my self-worth internally as opposed to looking
to feel your way.
Yeah, my base salary, my job title, you know, do your work, my projects, the length of my hair is always like, it never is here.
Yeah,
And
like how you just truly feel about yourself.
Yeah, inwardly. Like, it's always something outside. The friends, the brunches that I'm able to have, how many people are coming to my Thanksgiving, how many people telling me happy day, like, all of that feeds into my worth. And it's like, I don't know how to, like, I was watching the Megan Thee Stallion. I finally watched it. I didn't want to watch it because I'm like, she gonna make me cry because I see myself so much in her. But like, when I did actually like watch, me and Janae was talking about this, to where like her mom was the source that she plugged into to really feel good about herself. Her mom like was the plug. And when her mom passed away, she was like, I don't feel confident. And the tears started like, that's me. I plug into so many other outlets. And when those things are unplugged, whether it be their fault or whether it be my fault or whether I get fired or whether right now it's not the time for do your work to happen. When those things, when the plugs are not plugged in, I go to that cartoon where the tears start flowing, and then there's just, oh, I thought you was about to, but the tears start flowing and all this stuff. So yeah, I'm trying to break that cycle. And I think that honestly is going to be like one of my focuses for 2025 is like building worth from the inside.
I like that. 2025.
What is your going to be a focus point?
Man, honestly, is my self-worth. And I think like we're so the opposite, and I think that's so fire because everybody gets like two perspectives.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily look for people to validate how I feel. I be wanting to validate myself because I could care less about what people think about me. I could care less about this, that, and the third. Like, it's me versus me. And on my screensaver, that's what it says. 2025 is me versus me. Like, I am my worst enemy. Like, someone can sit up here like, saying you're beautiful. Thank you. But I don't really need that to y'all. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's literally me. Like, I don't, like, I tell stuff on this all the time because, like, some people do need that to boost their ego
But you are the opposite in the way of, like, you don't plug into people, but boost your ego is other people plugging into you.
Yeah. And that's what I don't want, though, because I'm starting to get to the point where, like, yes, I want to be, like, I want to help people, but now I'm getting to the point where it's like, I might have to just pause on that. Like, when I tell you it's me versus me in 2025, as in, like, some people, you know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta help myself. And now I'm putting my foot down. And, like, that doesn't mean, like, I'm not gonna, like, care about you. I'm gonna stop with you. But what I'm saying is, it's Tania's time. Like,
it's time to be selfish.
Yes, it's very time to be selfish. And I'm always gonna be who I am. I'm not gonna switch my characteristics, nothing like that. But, like, it's just time. And I'm tired. And I'm speaking this. I'm gonna be real. Like, and that's another thing about friends, like friends and these labels of friends and acquaintances and all that other stuff. I'm only going to show up for people who show up for me, who support me when I'm down and out, and who's riding for me when
But how would you have that if you're not vulnerable? Do you tell people like, hey, cause I know how you are. I'd be like, what's wrong? I'm okay. Like, you don't open up.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it just depends on who I'm talking to. Yeah. Cause it's like, I can be vulnerable. Like, I can be vulnerable, but it's like I have the capacity, and I know, for instance, you know, I love you, but I know you deal with a lot of stuff like mentally. Yeah. And I know I'll be okay. Yeah. So, and I don't want to like bring my stuff onto you, and now you're stressing and worried about that. And at the end of the day, I'm probably going to do this once a year. Like, I'm going to be straight versus, like, I'd rather for you to come to me because I have the capacity to support your mental health. I have the capacity for you to release that energy.
And this is where imbalance happens, in my opinion, because you are not in my body, so you're not able to say what I can or cannot. Like, you prevent reciprocity from happening. And I've been in really imbalanced relationships where I'm coming to you and I'm being vulnerable because that's who I am. This is what I'm going through, and we're both going through things. It's just one person is willing to share and the other person is not. And I think that you prevent not you specifically, but like in those imbalanced relationship structures, the other person literally prevents like intimacy from happening, interdependency. Like I depend on you, you depend on me, and we're helping each other.
Yeah.
You elevate, not you, but like you're elevating yourself to a point where you're higher because you're the giver, you're the God-like figure, not you, but just in general.
Yeah, and I think I'm like that's fearful for me.
Yeah,
like it is crazy because I'm such an emotional person.
Yeah,
and I'm afraid to be vulnerable because one, it's like I know we're all going through something, so it's just like I don't want to be a burden.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just have this pride. And it's like, I'm going to have to fight through. I'm going to have to get through where it's like, it's time for me to start being vulnerable, especially to the people that's close to my circle.
Yeah.
I really care for everybody else. But yeah, that's something that I do need to work on in 2025 is being more vulnerable and open and allowing people kind of sound like dad, but allowing people to come in and be there like in my life and be the light for me. But yeah, 2025, I'm being more selfish. Sorry, guys. But if you're not supporting us,
I feel like you have something to say about that.
I do.
Wait, hold on. What do you have to say about that?
I mean, and I'm gonna be real. Okay. First off, let me just tell you what support means to me, because some people may just not know. But for the people who do watch and who is supporting us and who do want to show up, support looks like to me is just like a share, a like, interacting with, what we're trying to do with our mission and just helping us spread the word. You know what I'm saying? And that's what support looks like to me. And I know sometimes funds might not be right or this and a third, but go to your homegirl, go to your mommy, your auntie, your whatever, and just like spread the word, because we really do have a mission and we really are trying to help people. But it's like, if you don't want to help yourself, then like, I don't know, but that's what support means to me, for me. What about you?
I don't expect support. I think that like in life, I feel like I've pretty much been my own. I struggle with like the strong person syndrome. Like on the outside looking in, I claw my way up to the places that I've been. Like a lot of times it's not somebody elevating me or cheering me on, or telling me good job or like any of that. So I don't really expect it. The support or lack thereof is expected for me. Like I expect for people to look and not engage. I expect to post and like maybe it's strangers showing you more love than the people that you grew up with. I expect that. And I think that in those moments, like honestly, the people that we are trying to touch may not be friends and family. It's probably strangers that we haven't even met yet. And so I keep that in mind too, as far as like, it's probably the strangers. It's probably the people that I've never even met before.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't think it's people clearly.
No.
Clear. I just don't see that.
I mean, I see it. And I don't know if it's because, like, okay, you know what? I see it. I feel like everybody needs it. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody needs it, but like everybody may not need it from me. And, everybody may not want it for me. Everybody may not be the mission for you specifically, and that's okay. And I don't expect that. That doesn't mean that it doesn't disappoint. That doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt, but it's kind of one of those things where it is what it is. I've clawed my way to certain places anyway, so that's what I'm used to. Yeah. I'm used to being a loner. I'm used to being my own cheerleader, my own champion, my own visionary.
And this is what I was talking about in the last episode, is where it's like, why would you do that? Because I wouldn't do it to you, type of thing. Yeah. And that's where I get, like, that's where my hurt comes from, because it's like, for me, no, this is like for real. And I'm like, whoever feel the way, but I don't really care. But my thing is just like a share, a like, and I'm just like, if I say I mess with you, I support you, I want to see everybody win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if you are in my circle or was in my circle, even if we're not even friends no more, you know what I'm saying? Well, for me, that's how I show it for people, because I'm always going to be authentic. I'm always going to be genuine, and I want to see everybody win, especially if I support the mission. I know exactly what you're trying to do. Like, why not? Like, how is that going to hurt? Like, is it pride or ego, or are you my enemy? Like, I'm confused, but that's the only thing I'm about to say.
And yeah. Okay. Well, next question. So we talked about patterns, we talked about cycles, and you were talking about your savior complex.
Yeah.
What did your self-reflection process look like? You know, whether it's friendship losses, friendship breakups, your patterns and your cycles, and what lessons have you learned along the way?
You can't save everybody. For me, that was the lesson that I genuinely, you can't save everybody, you can't help everybody, not everybody's your friend. And just
how did you come to that realization? When was your aha moment?
The aha moment, I had a lot of aha moments. Like, I done had some crazy friends, man. But I mean, I guess it's just like when I realized my soul was bothered. Like, if I have to, like, if I'm having anxiety, or if I'm really getting upset and it's bothering me, and like, whenever I had my aha moments, my soul was bothered. Like, I literally could not be around that person. I mean, I had the moment where I just could not stand that person, like,
when you say, what did they do? Well, you don't have to call the person out, but like, what did they do where your soul was so bothered?
I mean, when I felt like they were trying to compete, they wanted everything that I had, trying to talk to my significant other, or, you know, talking behind my back, and it's just like moving weird, like, where they didn't even have to, I didn't even have to know they were talking about me. I could just sit in the presence, and then for some reason, like, my intuition or my soul would just feel so bothered. And then I'll probably hear something down the road where it's like, oh, such and such, blah, 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 blah. Or, you know, certain stuff like that. Like, that's how I feel like God speaks to me, is through my intuition. And that's how I know, like, we're not on the same type of alignment right now. And I'm not saying like they were bad people. I just think they had some messed up characteristic traits, and I wasn't down for it anymore. Like, I wasn't finna just continue being around that type of energy. The only type of energy that I want is people who show up genuine, who's always gonna support me, because I'm a loyal person. Whoever rocking with me, I'm rocking you. What about you? Self-reflection.
Oh, I mean, I think that my self-reflection has just been like thinking, like, which is stupid. Yeah, well, that's what self-reflection is. Yeah. It's like really taking the time to reflect. And so, like I said, I've been in the same cycle since I can remember. And like, when I came to the realization that like, hey, there are patterns, like, this is a cycle for me. I think that it's like, okay, asking myself why. And like, when I was at my previous employer, we was working with this psychologist, this social psychologist, where she was like, anytime that you're really trying to engage in like real meaningful problem solving, you start with like, okay, what's bothering you? Whenever I'm having these continuous relationships and issues and friendships, you ask why. Yeah. And you keep asking why until there isn't anything. And then you can actually read from the bottom up. And like the psychologist was like, once you get to the last why, you could say, therefore. There, like, you can read it from the bottom up, and it says, therefore. Like, I'm angry because my friends, therefore I isolate myself, therefore I don't, whatever. Yeah. And so I think like true problem solving and to get to the root of like what's happening in my connections, what's happening in my relationships, what's mine to own, because I'm very big on accountability. Like, I'm not the perfect person. Yeah. I'm not the perfect friend. I messed up a lot. Right. There's people that I didn't value that I should have valued. There has been people that wanted to be in my life, but I was closed off to. There has been people that I've held accountable. Like, there's just stuff, right? Yeah. And I think that getting very clear and very honest with what's in my court, and I think I do a really good job at that. But I think where I'm learning is like giving other people back their shit, because I can be overly accountable. I can take on, like, because my core value is accountability and growth, I will be accountable for things. Like, let's say I have like a relationship issue with somebody. I'll take accountability for the whole thing, for the whole argument, for all the issues that we've ever had. And I'll be like, this is all the things that I'm taking accountability for, and this is all the ways in which I'm learning and growing. Mm-hmm. And I think a part of where I'm at right now is giving people back their shit and saying, I'm willing to take accountability and I'm willing to grow for this little portion of the pie. But everything else, you got some shit you need to work on. And so I think I'm just in that lesson where it's like really good and effective problem solving by asking the question why, and then also giving people back their stuff. And setting those boundaries. So
yeah, that's what I
emotional boundaries.
Yeah, that's what I need to work on. I need to work on self-reflecting more. Because I'm the type of person where it's just like, if you're not going to tell me what I did wrong, it's hard for me to realize what I'm doing wrong.
If they did tell you, would you care?
Yeah.
Would you
100%. 100%. And I promise. And I say this meaningfully because I love criticism. I don't know if that's the perfectionism in me, but the more a person, not necessarily,
do you respond right? Like, do you like it in the moment, or do you like it like a couple of weeks after?
In the moment. I mean, for me, because like I like to resolve problems right then and there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to marinate. I want to talk about it now, and I want to understand why you feel the way that you do, because I genuinely care. Now, do I care if I don't care about you? No, I don't care. I don't really care. But if I genuinely care about you, especially friendships, relationships, a parent, doesn't matter. I like to have a grown conversation, and I guess because I'm the type of person where I'm super blunt, and I don't like, sometimes, and I've been working on this because I know my words may hurt other people, but people can talk to me a certain way, and I'm not gonna take it personal, which I have to alter how I approach things. So I'll be more concerned on how I deliver versus me receiving it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the only conflict that I'll probably need to like kind of work on. But no, I would love to know like what the problem is so we can resolve it, especially if I care about you. What about you?
Yeah, but I think when people give me constructive feedback, the first thing I do is let them defend, because like that's just human nature. So I do have like a spirit of defensiveness, but after I like take that back to the drawing board and like sit down and actually reflect, it does do a work in my heart, and it does do a work in my mind, and I end up going back to the person and saying every single time and taking it, except for like the people like where there's been an indefinite, like we've walked our own ways. But I remember like the stuff for like Camille, like I'm not trying to name drop or anything like that, but when I wrote Taylor and Camille my letter, they Taylor spazzed out, and Camille actually gave me really good feedback. And she, after she, you know, cause she kind of like, you know, but you know, when I wasn't looking at like how she said it, but like what she said, I was like, hey, there's probably an indefinite friendship ending here. Like, we're not circling back around, but that did a work in my heart, and that did a work in my mind, you know? But in the moment, I was just like, damn, that triggered, like, damn, like, that stung. My booty hole clenched up a little bit, like, whoa. But it did a work in my heart, and it did a work in my mind. And I think that's one of my biggest friendship flexes, is that I may not like what you're saying in a moment, but my heart does open up to feedback along the way, and I sit with it and I spend time with the feedback and I reflect, and wherever I do see gaps, I'm going to spend time learning whatever it is that I need to learn, and then I'll go back and take accountability, and then I will apologize for the ways in which I've caused you harm.
Yeah. And that's good, because, you know, I just imagine thinking about like all of my friendships I has, and just imagine if we all showed up, not all showed up, fully healed, but like if we was all actually doing the work, and how fun the friendships would have been, or how healthier. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like that's the end result, is like we're not perfect, and it's okay. Like even friendship, we may not have shown up the most healthiest thing, but an accountability, saying like, yeah, like,
or saying something as simple as I'm sorry. There's so many that I'm sorry's that I'm probably owed, and there's so many I'm sorry's that I owe other people. Now, I think that I do a good job of like apologizing, but like it doesn't even if you're not in the place of like really, I don't have time to self-reflect. I'm a mom of 3. I got a man and I'm working 60 hours a week. I don't have time, but like it doesn't take a long time to say I'm sorry. Like even apologies, like, because when you're not apologizing, you're not validating the other person's experience. You're not validating the other person's emotions.
Okay, so quick question. Would you rather a person to apologize several times, like I'm sorry, but their actions don't change?
No, you need to give me one good ass apology and then where your behaviors are reformed.
Yeah.
Like your behaviors need to be transformed, because if you don't
talk to the camera,
your one good ass apology with changed and transformed behaviors. So, because they always say that thing where like if you apologize without changing your behaviors, it's manipulation.
Yeah,
because you're just like, oop, oop, oop. Yeah, I'm sorry. And this goes for everything that we're talking about, where it's emotional validation or whatever. This is not just specifically for friendships. This is for relationships. That could be your relationship. Like if I'm a parent and I have a child, that's parent to child. If you're the child and I have a relationship with a parent, that's child to parent. That's partner to partner. That is friend to friend. Like all of these are transferable skills that hit different aspects of relationships.
So, you know what I was thinking about, right? I was thinking about what you do for work, right? What you do? No, but it's really interesting because I don't know if people know like what you do for work, but the fact that, if you want to break it down, but you have, people take assessment. I'm trying to word it.
Okay. Yeah, I can talk about what I do for work. So like, I work at a company where we have a portfolio of different like tools, resources, tests, assessments to really get to know who you are at like a fundamental level, whether it's getting to know your values, getting to know your strengths, getting to know your weaknesses, getting to know how you exist in relation to other people, getting to know how you exist on a team. And what's really cool about that is that you actually can take these tests and you can take these workshops and these different experiences and really get to know yourselves from a data perspective. It's not just like, oh, I'm self-reflecting and I had some downloads in church, but you're really getting to the meat, into the nuts and bolts of like who you are based off of like tests that psychologists, like experts have built. So I am fortunate enough to get to do that.
Which is fire. And the reason why I brought it up is because when I didn't realize a lot of my weaknesses until you sent me that test. And I was just like, when it breaks it down, and I was just like, ooh, it makes sense now. And I was just like, wow, like this thinking about how a lot of people are not self-aware on how they're showing up or what they're projecting out into this world because they're not self-aware of who they are. And that's why it's important to really self-reflect, really break it down. And like, I like the method which you said, why, and then go back up and say four. Therefore.
I think in addition to self-reflecting, like if you don't have time, like money to do like a test or whatever, I think asking people, like that's one of the key ways to grow in relationships. Like if who are the 3 people that know you best and you're asking them, how do you experience or receive me? You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you receiving me?
I get a little triggered now.
You're gonna get triggered.
Yeah.
It's gonna sting. You might have to actually put the phone down. Like, creating that real safe space and then posing the question, like, how do you receive me? What are the things that I do really well, and what are the things that I need to work on?
Yeah, and just
creating that safe space for them to actually share.
Yeah, and just know, like, you know, ask the people who have the best interest for you, because not everybody. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So go to the people that you genuinely feel like has the best interest. Probably your mom and your daddy. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I feel like this episode kind of gives a good look on not just friendships, but relationships in general, on, you know, the importance on why to heal, how to grow from it, and lessons learned. So y'all, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below as well. Give us any input, give us any feedback, criticism, which I want to see in the next episode or whatever.
Yeah.
But we love y'all, and thanks for watching. Bye. Okay. That was good. That was probably one of our best.
We only did 2.
Yeah, no, we did 3.
But we didn't even post the first one.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I feel like the more